everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail, and I am heartened to tell you that we are getting back to education today. Oh, thank goodness. And it's an education for me too, because this is a topic that I am totally deficient in, something I know almost nothing about, and you already know what the topic is because you've seen the title of the episode. It is EEO, Equal Employment Opportunity. These are the laws that protect classes of people against discrimination and mistreatment in the workplace. And they are a critical part of the grievance process of holding management accountable for their mistreatment. But like most of the stewards in my area, I don't know anything about it, and I'm terrible at it. But we got a couple of experts here, and so I'm going to hand it off to Leslie Hammett and Michael Brazenly. By the way, by the time you hear this, the elections may have already happened, but I doubt it. I'm planning to release this fairly soon. So anyway, Michael Brazenly is my running mate for office in Branch 2502. He's running for president. I'm running for vice president. Our other running mate is Jonathan Munoz. Please vote for us. And now we'll get on to the education. So Michael, why don't you get started with talking just generally about what EEO is?
Okay. The EEO is an equal employment opportunity for everybody to have a fair able to do whatever they need to do at workplace. Okay, so there will be fair treatment by management, where they're not picking on them specifically for their disabilities, their race, their gender, or whatever other classes might be, where their management is picking on them. Okay, and EEO is there where the process is that if you feel that you were mistreated, that you can go to light blue, and it's in the light blue that you can file a EEO complaint, and on there is a position where you can ask for a EEO representative. Okay, but you got to.
What is an EEO representative?
So EEO representative, they're going to be asking for is the name of the person who's going to represent, because they have to send an email or mail to the EEO representative.
Oh, so this would be somebody representing you, like if
right.
you're just a rank and file carrier.
Like a lawyer.
Right. Then an EEO representative is going to represent you.
Right.
Okay, and it is important for the NALC to have these EEO representatives, right?
I believe so.
Okay. So,
but let me give you a little general idea why we don't have it.
Okay.
Okay. So the rumor that I heard, so maybe you know more than I do, is that the rumor I heard is that a carrier sued our branch because the EEO settlement didn't go the way they want, and because of that, our union president, our branch president, decided that we're never going to do another EEO again, and so because of that, the EEO was cut off from our branch. But the main thing is that I believe this is a very important thing, because a lot of times the grievance process, as everybody knows, it can take a long time.
Well, you know, it's funny you mention that, because when I got fired from the Carrier Academy the first time by management, not by my own union president, when I got fired, one of the things that Chris Jackson recommended was that I might look into filing an EEO and that I should get with an EEO representative at my branch. And that's when I found out there isn't one.
So the EEO, what it helps is that even though you have filed a grievance, and you got to remember that with the EEO grievance, you could go to a level where somebody may not agree with you, and you may get a bad grievance settlement. Mm-hmm. But an EEO settlement is different, because you can also, with an EEO settlement, and if they can get to a higher level, maybe get a judge involved to a point where they can agree to eliminate that grievance.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Leslie, let's hear from you. Yeah.
EEO is the law, and our branch had an EEO representative, but that is not something that is part of being a union. They did that as a courtesy to the carriers because there was such a need for it. I don't recall that somebody was sued. I don't know what the details were with that, but we had an EEO advocate, but they eliminated that position because of the liability to the union. When you are filing an EEO, you're deadly serious about what you're accusing the post office of. This isn't something that should be taken lightly. Well, I'll just file an EEO. If there's an actual incident of discrimination where they have targeted you based on your age, disability, race, color, then you absolutely have the right to file a legal challenge against that. This also involves sexual harassment in the workplace. There's all manner of things. And management has a handbook. It's publication 552, which specifically details that. And as far as training, I would encourage all stewards and even the membership to read that. It's in our on our NALC.org national page. Publication 552 gives you a pretty good overview as to what is supposed to happen when something occurs on the workroom floor. And it needs to be investigated and looked into. And an EEO is actually a legal challenge against what has happened to you. And they take a while. They are intense, as you know. They are extremely costly to the post office. The post office takes them serious, which is why when you file an EEO, the first thing they do is hook you up with a counselor who's going to try and tell you don't have a case.
This is somebody from the post office telling you you don't have a case.
That's their job.
Oh, yeah. Right. Just like human resources, like their job is just to make sure that the company doesn't get sued. They're not really your advocate as an employee. Right. Same sort of thing.
They're not your friend. They're there to tell you, well, you don't really have a case. Or if they suspect you may have a case, they try and intercede to kill it at the lowest possible level.
Right. Now, the biggest difference between EEO and a settlement on grievances is that the settlement that comes from EEO, it comes from like a judge advocate or a judge, to a point where it becomes law kind of thing. So if they agree that, hey, this supervisor did find guilty and this supervisor need to be removed from the Postal Service has to remove that supervisor. Okay? They cannot file a grievance to get their job back on that.
All right, now as a steward, Michael, you're taking advantage of these laws. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you incorporate that into your fight against management.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to certain carriers where a manager is just picking on this carrier, okay, of course I'm filing grievances. Okay? Right. Now, you still have to show proof on the EEO, and so one good thing with these stewards is that you're keeping all the grievances files together, so that when you need proof, you have all the proof that you need for the carrier that's filing the EEO. Okay. So that gives proof. But main thing is that it is a long process also, but it is another tool for a carrier to protect themselves from this happening.
Do you find that management takes your issue a little more seriously when there's a companion EEO?
Well, let me tell you on that too. Okay, so post office started something called redress. Okay. So what redress is a program to set up, like you said, with the counselor and so forth, so that you'll have the carrier who filed it. Then you got the representative that protects be like the lawyer for the carrier. Okay. Then the management who they blamed it on, saying this manager is doing that to them. Right. And then they have a representative. Okay. And then the counselor that's there will be there as in the middle to guide the process. And then we're sitting in the redress to talk it over at equal level, to see if they can resolve the problem before it goes to any higher level. Okay.
If I can interject there, Michael, if you don't mind, the counselor is somebody that you talk to before it ever goes to redress. That's the way it's set up now. When you get into redress, it's a mediator.
So I'm sorry, I got the word right. It is the mediator.
Yeah, yes. The mediator is the one who's supposed to help you find a solution. And I would be the first one to say redress is valuable because redress can solve the problem. But management doesn't like redress. It's expensive. And any admission of guilt at any level is abhorrent to them.
So do you find as well, Leslie, that if you file this companion EEO, that management takes the issue more seriously?
They have to.
Okay, great. So but when you're not getting, like we hear on, we've already talked about Corey, I don't know if we talked about it maybe off the air, Corey Walton on 8 Arbitration. And he tells these stories about managers who terribly mistreat carriers. Mm-hmm. And then instead of, in the JSOV that it says like, that will not be tolerated and they will not be promoted. Right. And then, of course, those managers get promoted.
Yes.
Yeah. So is this something that maybe if you involve EEO on top of it, that's less likely to happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right, so you can't fully fix management.
I mean,
with
if you want to be straightforward, it doesn't.
Okay.
But it gives them pause before they try it again.
Okay,
Um,
right. They're more apt to see the seriousness of it.
Right.
Okay.
Filing frivolous EEOs can be exhausting for a steward. You need to be ready to stick to your guns if you're going to take something like that on, because it's
Okay.
a very involved process, and you're essentially advocating as an attorney, and you need to start educating yourself about the ins and outs of EEO.
All right. So Leslie or Michael, what is an example, maybe a hypothetical, of a case that would be a good candidate for EEO?
I got one.
Okay.
Very perfect. It was a rural carrier who I helped
Oh,
out.
screw them. No, pick somebody
No,
else.
no.
Any employees of the Postal Service can ask for a representative from anybody.
Okay.
And she heard my name saying that I help out. So she ended up contacting me. And she was being abused by one of the supervisors. And
Verbally abused, you mean?
yes,
Okay.
verbally. And then making sure that she work extra hours while she's pregnant. Okay.
Oh.
And
All right, and pregnant, now we get into the protected class.
okay.
If you're pregnant, you're part of a protected class.
Yes.
Okay.
And this supervisor just kept going after her, making her work like 16 hours a day as a rural care, which is unheard of.
Wow.
Okay. And she lost her baby.
Oh my God.
Okay. So this was a major case, but these are kind of things that this is the reason why the EEO is there. Okay,
Wow.
to protect them. But she didn't know anything about the EEOs, unfortunately, and did not contact me about this until almost a year later.
Right.
And
And
so-
like anything, there's time limits.
So there was not much I can do on that EEO because she lost her baby,
Right.
but that same manager was still attacking her. Okay, so we were able to I was able to still go and do the EEO representation for her, but not as bad because unfortunately when she lost her baby because of all this incident, what happened a year before that, and there's not much I could do because the process of the EEOs, you have I think 45 days to file a complaint, and so if you miss that date, there's not much we can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I would imagine if it's an ongoing situation that they're continually getting abuse, then it would be like from the last incident. You'd have 45
Correct.
days. Okay.
And then you can show the pattern of continued abuse.
Which
And-
is why it's so important to document when
Correct.
these things happen.
But carriers don't think about that. They're not thinking, oh, well, the supervisor's doing this. I need to write this down, and I need to gather my witnesses. I need to,
Right.
because the average carrier is not thinking of such things. But the steward should be aware of that and to be
Yeah.
questioning and be able to prepare the evidence should that
Right.
be happening.
Yeah.
I have to say I do not advise stewards to learn this. It's a difficult process. There's not a lot of us that have been willing to take it on.
Mhm.
But once you do and you educate yourself enough to be able to prevail, it's worth it.
Yeah, so this is one of the ways, Michael and I have talked about getting people to support the branch in ways other than grievance handling.
Correct.
And so if you have experience with the EEO process and you'd like to be able to educate or support people who are going through it, that's a phenomenal way to help the branch without being a grievance handler.
Correct.
Likewise, hopefully OWCP is another issue like that,
That's
where
right.
you always need help navigating that system, and that's a way that you could be of tremendous help to your fellow carriers without being a grievance handler.
Right.
Yeah. So the need is out there. Is there anything else you guys want to? Yeah, go for it, Michael.
Well, again, the EEO process. As I'm running for president, and I'd like to have the EEOs be more available for carriers in our branch. Okay, but I don't want it to be where we get sued because somebody made them, didn't like how our settlement was or whatever like that. So obviously there's got to be some things that we have to address.
Right.
But I believe the EEO is a very important thing that for the carriers, and we are here to help out the carriers. We're like regular people.
Right. Yeah, we're not attorneys.
We didn't go to college to be attorneys because if we did, we wouldn't be in the post office.
Right.
Okay? And so we are still human. We do what we learn as much as we can to help out the carriers as much as we can. But post office is afraid of EEOs.
All right.
Okay.
Good to know.
And because that settlements can come, they can cost the post office lots of money. And one of the biggest thing too is redress. Is that you settle on a redress, saying, "Hey, management needs to step out or whatever. Don't do this again." And then the meeting's over, and saying, "Hey, they're not going to do that again," and then they do it again. You can start another redress.
Wait, management does it again?
Right.
I can't believe it.
But when the redress costs so much money, and you
Right.
file 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, because the manager obviously can't leave that carrier alone for
Right.
you to file 8, 9, 10 times, and then next thing you know, it costs the post office $50,000, $100,000 because of this manager.
Wow.
What do you think is going to happen from the postmaster?
Oh, that manager is going to become the new MPO. That's what I think is
No,
going to
what
happen.
they'll do is
Yeah.
they'll ship them to another city
And
as
that's
the acting
exactly
station
right.
manager.
100%. That's
Yeah,
exactly what
but at least
happens.
they'll remove it from that station. Okay?
Right,
And the
right.
biggest problem with that too is that now that carrier thinks, oh, I won, the supervisor is gone, so I'm just going to drop everything and let it be.
Right.
Okay. And the problem with that is that don't drop anything if you start it, because they can come back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Discrimination does occur,
Oh, without question.
and carriers should not tolerate it.
Right.
They do not have to work under those conditions, under any circumstance. It's the law.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot be discriminated against. And if a steward suspects that's happening, or if a carrier thinks it's happening to them by their age, their race, for whatever reason, they absolutely should be reporting it. And there are instances where a carrier is going to need an attorney, not just a representative, but an attorney, because some of the incidents are serious enough that an attorney should be involved.
Right.
And I would absolutely advocate for them to do that. We can't have this on the workroom floor. We have the JSOV, we've got Publication 552, all these workplace policy things that are supposed to protect us on the job.
Before we get out of here, tell me a little bit more about Publication 552.
It's management's guide to understanding and dealing with workplace harassment.
Oh, okay. So, on a
It's-
future episode or
It's a
episodes,
wonderful, wonderful publication.
you can look forward to hearing me read this on
Yeah.
future episodes of Classes
bet.
of Mail. Yeah, and maybe the F21 handbook for timekeeping. And rest assured, guys, there are still plenty more episodes to come. All right. So thank you so much for taking on this topic that there's no way I'd be able to speak on it. So, Leslie, you've been a huge help. Yeah, Michael, one last thing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
one last thing.
Of course.
Because the EO is not supported by our branch, and so there has been lacking on a lot of EO representatives. Okay, and so I'm like the only one. I'm not the only one. I think Lori also does it too. So there is only like total of 2 active carriers that is actually representing EO representative right now, and that's a problem. So there's only 2 active carriers that's actually representing, and Lori, who's also from my station, so Crossroads is lucky that they actually have 2 EO representatives at their station, and actually I take it back. Jonathan does it once in a while too, but he doesn't know any of the things, so he has to again come and talk to me or Lori. But that's what happens when you have somebody
He's willing to take it on.
willing to take it on, because we were able to teach him on how to be an EO representative.
Well,
And I think we just need more than that, because
yeah, I don't think I'd be overstepping if I said that it would be nice to have a branch president who was interested in this sort of thing. Good thing we have one who's running. All right. So with that, guys, thank you very much for listening. And again, this is a very important topic. And one last plea: vote for Michael, vote for me, vote for Jonathan, and I'll catch you guys next time.